Let's see where we are. Now then. I'm not sure how good the sound is, but we'll give it a go. Sure I'll get the sound this, so I'll give it a go. Okay, that seems alright. Just doing the sound test, guys. We're now live here. Let's there's a lot of background sound, I'm afraid, so don't be put off by that. Just get the link sorted out. Let's see if that works here. Get my Telegram as well. And then go to my Twitter page. Okay, where has it gone? Right, here we go. There we are. So, the title of the stream is, well, it's usually about the UK, but I'm going to talk about Russia, Ukraine today. It won't be a very long stream because it's getting a bit late. So let's see here. So the title is Ukraine were never going to win and NATO knew it. Now this might be stating the obvious, it's something I've covered for the last 3 years now. And I've been doing, been pretty much covering everything with well, I would say much more detail than most people, because during the time I was actually covering this on my old YouTube channel, I was actually talking a lot about Putin as well and what he's about. In fact, we did a whole series on Putin, uploading the videos slowly to the channel. It's not maybe your thing, it's not propaganda. It's talking about him in more detail. I mean, there's literally, I think, about 23 videos I did, I think, almost. And it was covering a book on Putin's mindset, how he saw Russia, where it was when he came in, and where it was, what it's actually become. And it's something which I think most people will be interested in if they like history, But for me, it was about getting information out there, some truths, debunking the myths, and making sure you understood what was happening. But that was history. And today, about, actually no, today is the 13th, so we've got, I think it's 2 more days. This is on Friday. Putin is scheduled to meet with Trump. And people making as if this is a big deal. Well, let me make it clear right now, because people have been just filled with so much information, not regarding Ukraine and Russia, but also many other stories out there, and you're forgetting what actually happened. Russia and Ukraine would come to this point at some stage. Number one, the polls show that in Ukraine, people have lost appetite for the war, and they support negotiate peace. At the start of the war, back around 2022, the appetite was about 73%. Now the appetite is about 24%. Almost dropped by 2/3. And almost 70% now say you should negotiate peace. But will that peace deal be? We don't know. Based on not just the polls, but also what people think in Ukraine, and also what Zelensky might do. Either way, this looks like it might be the end of Zelensky's era. And think about it, when he started off, looked promising. One of his campaign promises was to bring peace into Ukraine, or in this case, into the Donbass region. How he's going to achieve that, I don't know. But he was nevertheless going to try to do it. And the problem he had was, well, a number of things. There's many factors, but let's go for two, the most obvious ones. And that was the people on the ground were very, very nationalistic, Slav Ukraine types. All these fighters have been out there for so many years. Some were young who come in who would join the likes of who was it again? The Azov brigades, the Kraken units. These were very fierce fighters, Ukraine's best fighters. And he had a problem, which was that he didn't know how to manage that. At the same time, tame them, looking to look at potentially bring some stability into that part of the country. Because bear in mind, people living in East Ukraine are Ukrainians, based on nationality. They're not frauds, they're not separatists, and they were not pro-Russian. And how we know this? Well, if you look at the poll numbers back then, from 2014 to about 2018, people were quite happy being Ukrainian. They just wanted a little bit more autonomy over what they can do in that part of the country. Then also what happened when in Odessa changed things. Two things Russia did. Supply weapons to those who were sympathetic to Russia in East Ukraine, and annex Crimea. And by annexing Crimea, told us that Russia were full intent, or had no other intention but to clash with NATO on the issue regarding their expansion. The expansion itself wasn't so much what they did in places like former Soviet states, Poland. Okay, that was a nuisance to Russia, but it wasn't a pain. They could actually bear that pain in that situation. What was happening? Lavrov back in the 2007, 2008? This is before, around the time of the financial crash. Nothing to do with that, of course. Lavrov said that Russia's red line is Ukraine and Georgia. That's their red line. These two countries cannot join NATO. End of story. Turkey, I believe, is a member of NATO. A giant country, could be absolute nuisance to Russia. Putin has no issue with Turkey. Gets on pretty well with Erdogan, even though Erdogan supplies weapons. Excuse me. Supplies weapons to Ukraine that kill Russian soldiers. So those two were the two big things that would issue with Russia. Lavrov when Lavrov speaks, he's simply being the voice for Putin out there speaking to the other mercenaries across the entire globe. Or when he speaks to the media. He's the projection of the Russian message to the world, what they truly think. Medvedev is a different animal altogether, and I think he's more of the, let's throw the most audacious thing I could say out to the media and see how they respond. He doesn't mean the majority of things he says, Medvedev, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to what he has to put out there. It's funny at times. In Georgia's case, you have South Ossetia and Abkhazia, which Russia annexed as well, or gave the option for them to go independent. People cried foul about this and said, oh, that's not fair. Well, it seems the United States and Europe can do what the hell they want. Russia felt we could do the exact same thing. Whether you agree or disagree with them, makes no difference here. So, with that being said, the issue being what we had in places like Donbass region. These are Donetsk and Lugansk in particular. These two regions. A lot of fighting, a lot of people died. And Zelensky said, I'm going to bring peace into this part of the world. This part of the country. He failed. Absolutely failed. So, why have I said that NATO knew it, that Ukraine never going to win? If people actually did their research like I've done, you recall that Zelensky had an interview, I think it was last September. He mentioned a few things about this as well, a year before that as well, so in 2023 and in 2024. He made it clear, if you want us to push Russia back, you need to give us all the weapons you have, plus more. Plus tens of thousands of tanks. He wasn't kidding when he said it, he wasn't exaggerating, he was being honest. In the end, his honesty, believe it or not, cost him his job. No matter what nonsense he spews now about, Ukraine can win this war, go on for another 10 years and so on and so forth. He wasn't wrong when he said that we need all this to beat Russia, just to push them back, just to halt Russia in a track so we can actually counterattack. Right now, Ukraine are not able to even counterattack. Ukraine have got no ability to counterattack. Ukraine have got no real defense system that can hold off these drone attacks that Russia keep piling in time and time again. The missile attacks that kill Ukrainians who have not actually fired a bullet yet, who are sitting in hotels and God knows where else, thinking they're safe. Russia have informants all across the entire country. The reason why Russia hasn't flattened Ukraine is because you kill your informants, no one's going to try and help you again. If anything, Russia have been quite precise in this conflict. Yes, the places look like an absolute mess, but nobody lives in them anymore. And they're probably not going to go back anytime soon, especially during a war like this. The buildings look a mess because if soldiers are hiding in and you can kill them, why would you sit there and say, okay, please leave the building so we can kill you and not hurt the building? That's why it's a mess. There's almost like a war between Russians and Russians. Essentially that's what it is. It's Russians against Russians right now. All this propaganda pushed by the Western politicians, forget the media were also part of it, but the media were hardly the ones who spurred it on. They were asking questions from time to time. They were talking to Ukrainians on the ground. One Ukrainian, remember a story back, what was it, a couple of years ago? One Ukrainian soldier who gave his name to the New York Times or the Washington Post, better known as the Washington Compost. I can't remember who it was, which media it was. But that guy got dismissed from the army. How do you think most of these Ukrainians feel when they actually give their life, put their lives on the line for their country, and get treated like garbage by their own government? My heart breaks for these people. It does. The reason why it breaks for these people is because they've been lied to. And one thing you have to be careful about when it comes to this conflict is that when it's all said and done, there's a lot of people in Ukraine are going to be very angry about this. It may not even be half the country. It could be like 20-30%. That's a lot of Ukrainians. They will start asking questions after being lied to for so long. How many people actually died? People, in this case, particularly women who have lost their husbands, don't get compensation because their husband's not been declared dead, even though they are dead, and they know they're dead. The country itself financially is a mess. The sanctions on Russia have not worked, never worked, and never will work, which is why Trump is trying to accelerate from one step to the other. Step one, more sanctions. Maybe that'll annoy them. No, it didn't work. Trump doesn't have a patience of a saint. It's the patience of a child. I'll give him 50 days, was what that ridiculous thing he mentioned. I'll give you X amount of days to sign to negotiate. A week later, now I'm going to cut it down to about 10 days. Time and time again, Russia have made their point. This is the reason why we went in, and this is the reason why we'll keep making our position clear. And you keep saying, we want a deal here, we want a ceasefire. We keep telling you, we want a peace deal, but not the way you want it. Tough. Russia will take these 4 territories. They're going to annex them. They already have annexed them. In fact, they've only actually had their little, you might call it a charade, in their own parliament. Or their own speech that Putin made when he had those 4 governors declared as the people who are going to head those regions: Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. And you had these idiots in the media saying, well, maybe they can get, you can have all of Zaporizhia and give us back Kherson back to Ukraine. Why on earth would Russia give back Kherson to Ukraine, which is directly above Crimea? What idiot thought this? Maybe it was someone in the White House, someone in the media, I have no idea. But you're completely moronic. If you think you know what you're talking about, you have no clue. Russia did not make all this sacrifice for them to turn around and say, you know what, have Kherson back. We'll take Zaporizhia and the other 2 regions. You were trying to make a deal here. Best scenario for Ukraine? A deal based on the current lines of where the territory is. But Russia made it clear, you're not going to be able to sit there with your army, regroup and fight back. That's not going to happen. You see, this is why Trump is a complete moron, along with most people MAGA. And that's right, you are morons, I'm afraid. Don't like what I say when I'm subscribed, I don't care. It's a fact. You clearly don't know how it works in a war. Trump's childish antics, these so-called instincts he has on foreign policy, was proven his first term. He wasn't going to do anything about Syria, not even touch Assad, and because his daughter cried about, oh my God, I saw these pictures from CNN, and whichever media outlet was, showing these children being killed by gas attacks, even though these gas attacks are questionable too. Trump got on the phone, all his military to hit a strike, to hurt the Syrian army, and said, look, see, I did something. And called it a victory. Assad was still in power, though. That wasn't a victory. Ukraine loses territory, it's not a victory. It's not a victory for you or anyone else. Ukraine admitted years ago they wanted to take this, they were not able to get this territory back. It was well known. This is not new. For those that follow me on Twitter, on YouTube before, know this. People that did their research like me know this. Here we are having the exact same conversation again about these issues that have come up between Ukraine and Russia. You keep trying to tell people this, they're not paying attention. They want simple, quick answers. Short videos that say, Russia went into Ukraine because of the NATO expansion from the West. No, that's not why they went into Ukraine. You must be completely stupid. Putin explained this to everybody on camera in front of Macron. I'm not going to go through that again every time. Keep repeating the exact same story over and over again. You can see the video for yourself. Putin said, if Ukraine joins NATO, and then Ukraine decides to attack us, try and take Crimea back, you're now a party to this war. You have to join it. Then you get these other morons who are these so-called experts online who think they know more than me in geopolitics, which is just nonsense, because you don't have to actually read the end of the book to be an expert on the book. Or you have to actually read the book. On top of that, you actually need just to assess things and observe what's happening. Because it comes down to this. If you claim that there will be no such thing as NATO getting involved in Ukraine taking back Crimea, then you have to ask yourself, well, what was the point of NATO then? Let me repeat that again for the person right at the back, so you can pay attention a little bit more as well. What is the point of NATO if you other nations don't get involved? Well, one of the nations you have is now starting a war, or advancing the war, I should say. In this case, trying to take territory back from another country, which is a nuclear power. And Putin's point was, guess what? You guys both get involved. You know who win in a normal fight? You guys would. Putin actually admitted this on camera. You guys would win this fight. There's no comparisons. Here's the problem, though. Yes, millions would die, of course, but you would still win. Millions, if not hundreds of millions, will die. But you still win. The West will win. The NATO will win that war. But we have something called nuclear weapons. If our country is on the brink of extinction, we will use them. That's in their doctrine. And for some reason, they never took Putin seriously. He talked about the multipolar world years ago. Lavrov said in 2008, 2009 that Ukraine and Georgia were not going to be part of any deal on NATO. Tough. You're not going to touch it. That's a red line. You crossed the red line, or you tried to cross the red line, they said that's enough. If you like Russia or not, or if you're fans of Russia or not, or you think Russia are Nazis, or whatever you want to call them, I don't care. The fact is, this is reality. We have to deal with it. Right? This is where we're at the moment. You can see on the screen there. On the bottom left-hand corner, his face is just hilarious. Good signs between Zelensky and Zelensky. They may not say it, but I can tell you right now, Zelensky does not like Zelensky at all. He's also rumoured, I say rumoured, that Zelensky's been putting a lot of money away into the Middle East. I'm not sure how much of that is true, but we'll find out soon later. Rather than later, I should say. We know Trump is losing the plot a little bit because he says he's actually going to Russia or Alaska for some reason. I think Putin's going to be waiting there for a bit, wondering where the hell is he going to come. Oh, dearie me. What a mess. And it's not entirely Trump's fault, of course not. Trump has something to do with it, but it's not entirely his fault. Trump's not the reason why we're in this mess. He's part of the reason, not exactly the real reason, not the actual full reason. The trajectory between Russia and the United States has been going for quite some time, downwards. Right? Trump added to that, unfortunately, during his tenure, but whether it's Trump or not, we'll get to that point. We'll get to that stage at some point because it was heading that direction regardless. So now Ukrainians are sitting there thinking, we're going to have a cut deal here. We're going to find out the exact potential deal. Nothing guaranteed yet, of course. But let's say there was a deal. What happens next? Wait, in order to get this deal done, in order to give territory to Russia, putting aside has to be ratified as well, a treaty. They have to change the constitution, have a referendum, and get it through the courts as well. Now, if public opinion shows to those Ukrainian politicians that this is actually a good deal, they'll probably go ahead of it for the sake of peace. Trump's worldview is this: Putin got something he wanted, not everything, but he got something he wanted. Zelensky can be held as a hero because he stopped the Russians from taking the entirety of the entire country of Ukraine, and Trump will be seen as the peacemaker. That's what it's all about. It's about optics for these people in the West. The Russians take the entire Donbass region, they've got all those resources. That's one. Two, Russia right now are actually just on the within maybe a few kilometers inside the Dnipro. The Dnipro sits to the west of Donetsk and to the north of Zaporizhia. The Dnipro region, that is. No joke. Russia right now are just cruising. It's costing them too, no question, don't get me wrong. But in a war, when you've got one side that's willing to do everything in its power to try and win, the other side isn't, you're going to lose. Because all that defensive line that Ukraine had in the east part of the country has gone down. It will go down the toilet if they have to give up Donetsk. That'll be one of the biggest humiliations that Ukraine will have. No question about it. And also at the same time, you've got to think of a psychology. Not entirely, but part of it is the psychological aspect. If Ukraine says to their people in the east, you four regions are no use to us, in this case obviously Zaporizhia and more so Kherson in the south. Zaporizhia cuts into the southeast. Donetsk and Lugansk in particular is like, well, you're no good to us anymore. You're not Ukrainians to us. That's a big blow. Because anyone who lived there before, who really truly believed that they were actually Ukrainian, that will hurt them. Some will get over it, of course, but it will hurt them. So in June, I'm going to play this clip to you because I think it's very important. Because again, people are just, it's almost like wasting my breath, these people, but what else can I do? I'm not going to go through it. So let's put the video on screen and get rid of these clowns. Let's see here. Let's close it off. Right, I've got the video here. Let me play it to you. This is Putin. It's about 1 minute and 36 seconds long, and it's worth repeating, or watching at least, to see for yourselves. His face. What he said. This is just over a year ago, in June 14th, 2024. Here we go.
Украинские войска должны быть полностью выведены из Донецкой, Луганской народных республик, Херсонской и Запорожской областей. Причем, обращаю внимание, именно со всей территории этих регионов в пределах их административных границ, которые существовали на момент их вхождения в Украину. Как только в Киеве заявят о том, что готовы к такому решению и начнут реальный вывод войск из этих регионов, а также официально уведомят об отказе от планов вступления в НАТО, с нашей стороны незамедлительно, буквально в ту же минуту, последует приказ прекратить огонь и начать переговоры. Повторю, наша принципиальная позиция следующая. Нейтральный, внеблоковый, безъядерный статус Украины, ее демилитаризация и денацификация. Тем более, что с этими параметрами все в целом согласились еще в ходе стамбульских переговоров в 2022 году. Безусловно, должны быть в полной мере обеспечены и права, свободы и интересы русскоязычных граждан на Украине. Признаны новые территориальные реалии. Статус Крыма, Севастополя, Донецкой, Луганской народных республик, Херсонской и Запорожской областей как субъектов Российской Федерации. В дальнейшем все эти базовые принципиальные положения должны быть зафиксированы в виде фундаментальных международных договоренностей. Естественно, это предполагает и отмену всех западных санкций против России. Украинские войска должны быть полностью выведены из...
Just going to play along whilst you see the subtitles. So Ukrainian forces must fully be withdrawn from Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, DPR and LPR that is referred to, as well as Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. Emphasize applies to the entire territory of these regions within their administrative borders. So, the person who said, I had some of these people come back at me, it was actually hilarious. Well, you can settle a deal based on the current the lines of defense, the defensive lines that Ukraine has, and Russia can take what they have right now. It's like, no, do you not listen to what Putin said last year? But of course, I've done my research. They haven't. I'm not supposed to be a genius at this. I simply read information to you right in front of the camera. In this case, not me, of course, it's Putin speaking. I emphasize it applies to the entire territory of these regions within their military borders. How clear can you be on that? As existed one as a part of Ukraine before. He's also saying Kiev has declared readiness to take this step. That's step one. We will now look at considering recognizing these 4 territories plus Crimea, which is 5, as part of Russia. Then he says begins the actual withdrawal of troops from these regions. That's the difficulty Zelensky is going to have with his parliament and also the people who are fighting there right now. As well as officially notifies us of the renunciation of his plans to join NATO. We will immediately issue the order to cease fire and begin negotiations. So, if you don't show any intent to do any of the things we asked for, this war will continue. It's that simple. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. He's made it very clear. Again, I made this point out every time I speak when I show this. You don't have to like Putin. You can think he's a warmonger. You can think he's Hitler. I don't care. If you understand what he's trying to say, or don't waste your energy and time, because you have no clue what you're talking about. I repeat. Our fundamental position is a neutral, non-aligned, non-nuclear Ukraine. If Ukraine want to join the EU, that'll be absolutely fine with Russia. Right now, the EU wouldn't even take Ukraine. Imagine that. Along with its demilitarization and denazification. Talks about how these things were considered back in Istanbul talks 2022, which of course I can't independently verify. I've not seen a document which has been officially confirmed by Ukraine and Russia to be the actual document, but apparently there is one out there. It goes on here. Additionally, the rights, freedoms and interests of Russian-speaking citizens in Ukraine must be fully guaranteed, which it isn't. Think about it. Russian-speaking citizens do not have full guarantees in Ukraine. And the European Union, along with America, are fine with this. The new territorial realities must also be recognized. Crimea, Sevastopol, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, Zaporizhia regions. He went into more detail about it. He went from Crimea and Sevastopol as well, as if to treat them separately. Must be officially recognized past the Russian Federation. I mean, how much more do you want? Alright? So, that being said, oh, that's the UK one there. Flag I'm going to put on there for my streams. Bloomberg say Putin's about to outplay Trump again in Alaska. 1 minute they're talking about the negotiations, now they're saying we're not going to talk about the territorial. That's between Ukraine. Have a discussion on that, which is nonsense because Trump wants to talk to him about the Arctic Circle, what's going on up there, because Russia have an advantage over there as well. Trump is a deal maker, he's a business guy, he doesn't care about the situation with regards to Ukraine and what happens to their territory. Doesn't care. Then again, to be honest, neither does Europe. What they'll talk about, I have no idea. But is someone like Trump ever going to listen to what Russians have had to say about Ukraine? The situation regarding Russian-speaking citizens, the territories they now have? Is he going to listen? I don't think he is. Trump said you can get a deal within, like, what was it, 24 hours or like a month or something? We're going to have 24 hours. It's not been. That's been 6 months. He's gone absolutely nowhere. Because last time I checked, the negotiations for this Ukraine-Russia deal should be between these two guys you see on the screen right now. And I keep saying they want a ceasefire. Let me remind people out there, people at the back, it was in fact Zelensky in Ukraine that banned negotiations with Russia. Banned it. Okay. Right. Let's see what else there's. A few updates I want to go through now because it's about regarding Russia and Ukraine. So what you had, where's it gone? Oh, it's down there. So UAE residents mentioned, which is a Ukraine Telegram channel. They don't like Zelensky, but they're not pro. They hate Russia. The anti-crisis report from the Office of the President situation on the front looks quite sad, and the situation now near Pokrovsk is near difficult. The information about the Russians' breakthrough in the Pokrovsk area does not correspond to reality, the speaker of the OSGV Dnipro said. Quote, a small enemy group bypassed Ukrainian positions and tried to hide in the rear. A similar situation took place a week ago with the passage of a small of DRG in Pokrovsk, which for the enemy was not successful, which means they withdrew. According to our information, the General Staff was moving special forces of the elite, they have elite units, on an emergency basis to contain the situation. They're obviously worried about Pokrovsk. Okay? What's happening passport goals, I should say. So, the other one that came up, also from UA resident. Our sources in the Office of the President said the Office of the President wants to take advantage of the situation on the international track and unite Ukrainians around Zelensky as the main actor in the fight for Ukraine. After the failure of the NABU SAP operation, which is regarding corruption, the President's rating collapsed and the support in society fell to its lowest value during the war. Bankova understands the trends and is trying to shift the focus from negativity to unifying meanings, according to UA residents. And the final one, there's so many updates coming, I haven't got time to go through them all. Here we go. I'll have a look now and see if there's anything new. I don't think there is, but I'll have a look. Okay, here as well. The US has urged Ukraine to realistically assess its combat capabilities ahead of the summit between Putin and Trump. Politico reports citing US official. Quote, the US authorities are asking them to realistically assess what they can do with the combat capabilities they have. The publication recalled that German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, before the meeting of the Russian and American presidents organised today, August the 13th, remote talks of the participation of the American leader, NATO Secretary General, as well as representatives of the leadership of Ukraine, the European Council, and the European Commission. The Europeans will hold a separate conversation with Zelensky before Trump and Vance speak with him. They are a funny bunch, these Europeans, particularly NATO in this case, which covers a lot of the European countries, plus America. Initially they said Putin's got to go, we've got to defeat him, we've got to destroy Russia. They then went to, well, let's try and stop Russia from encroaching further to Ukraine, let's get into a draw. Now it's gone down to, let's give them some territory. Lying thieves, all of them. They want the peace deal so they can start profiteering from rebuilding Ukraine. Thieves. I don't care what your political ideology, which political party you fall into, what your ideology is. Anyone gets involved in these projects, tries to profit off the backs of Ukrainians, you're all scum. You should all be put in prison, quite frankly. That includes people like Trump. And if people like in the Reform UK try to do this as well, they belong in prison as well. At the same, not in the same prison cell, of course, different countries, but put in jail too. Can't stand this corruption we have with our politicians. Our sources in the Office of the President report that the Office of the President is having a hard time promoting right narratives. Okay, this carries on the bottom we talked about previously. Let's see what it says here. This is another piece from a German paper, I think, The Bild. The offensive of Russia in Donetsk is becoming more and more threatening. They say, they're blaming the Soviet decision-making for Ukraine's failure, which is laughable. Is there anything else? I'm just having a quick look now. So this is just a bit about the Spectator's piece regarding the Arctic. So, the Spectator noted that Donald Trump may try to use the Ukrainian issue as a bargaining chip for the sake of concluding a large-scale economic agreement with the Kremlin on the development of the Arctic. Well, that's not really a position you can take, because Russia can tell you to go and do one and take over the Arctic and say screw you. Why do you want a piece of it? There is Trump saying America first. America first means you have your country, be independent. But in America first, what it truly means is steal the resources from other places. Sanction countries by using your American dollar to do it. You print God knows how much more money than anybody else. You complain about high prices, yes, you're the ones that are causing high prices across the entire globe. The same people who talk about the military-industrial complex don't have any issue spending trillions more into the military. It's simply laughable, you are. You're a big joke. America's one big joke. with all respect. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else here left. See, about the Spectator piece. It says, the publication notes that the region holds about, this is regarding the Arctic, 13% of the world's undiscovered oil reserves and 30% of the natural gas. Almost half of these resources under Russian control. This makes the Arctic a key energy price that could bring enormous profits to those who provide access to its subsoil. Okay, fine. But again, just be clear. That's none of your business, really, America. It's up to Russia what they want to do. Okay, so it's actually it's a game of resources, it looks like. Okay, more of this stuff about optics for Ukraine. Okay, there's nothing else here. I'm just seeing what the latest is quickly, and we'll wrap up. So what we know is that the Russian army who are near Pokrovsky, there's heavy fighting there, and it's difficult for Ukraine because there's not much defense areas, the defensive lines for them to be there. So this is what looks like what's going to happen. The US will go to try and get some sort of agreement with Russia, then get Zelensky to come in and actually ratify the agreements. Which, quite frankly, is disgusting about what you're expecting from the United States. Seriously. You keep going to Russia, America, wasting their time and energy saying, guys, what's your price? We told you what your price is. Stop asking the same stupid question over and over again. In a war, there's not like a ceasefire is not a stalemate. Ukraine's asking for a ceasefire. Ukraine wants a ceasefire. EU wants a ceasefire. America wants a ceasefire. You guys are losing, that's why. So if you want a ceasefire, Russia will be declared a winner. They'll get what they want. End of story. It's not up to you to decide what Russia gets. If you're the ones who want to negotiate, desperate for it, then Russia will decide what they get from it. It's not 50-50. America has a crappy record so far. They effed up Iraq, they effed up Libya, they effed up Afghanistan. The Taliban are back in Afghanistan. You got rid of one Saddam, unleashed 1,000 of them in Iraq. You're happy to get rid of Assad from Syria, even though Assad had his own part to play in that. Now you've got 1,000 new Assads out there. Jesus Christ. It is really, really laughable. Okay, you see, it shows you what kind of mess we're in, because the video I showed you earlier when Russia Putin came out and said, look, you have to recognise the territories. End of. They're part of Russian Federation. And you got Friedrich Merz coming out, leader of Germany, coming out and saying, well, we don't have to recognise them. It's like, dude, if you want a deal, you have to recognise territory whether you like it or not. You can't just cut in between and choose and pick and choose what suits you. That's not how this works. Yeah, nothing else here from marketing, no further updates anyway. Well, next I think we'll do probably cover more Russia-Ukraine, not just see any more updates since the last time from this stream I've had today. Maybe Friday, Saturday we'll try and do the stream. And we'll cover more in the UK and what's happening there, because it is, quite frankly, well, it is a bigger mess here, I'll tell you. let's see what we've got here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. Right. Okay, there's nothing else at the moment. So, thank you, and be sure to check out the Twitter account, which is Twitter handle or X handle as they call it now, UKRUS News. You can find me on Telegram, t.me/TheNationState.